All right, what's happening? I believe we're, oh, sorry, I lost the screen there for a second. We are live. What's up, Ward Wrestling Live, man? I have, you might have seen last week, I had one half of the Sam and Swisher show. Today, I've got the other half of that dynamic duo, Sam Herring from Memphis, Tennessee. He is a hammer on the wrestling mat, 6-time Tennessee champ, 2-time 32, 2-time Tulsa All-American, co-founder of this HMA show. He and his partner won Journalist of the Year in 2020, so that's pretty dope. And he's here with us today, man. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I had your boy last week, and now we get you on, so that's really cool.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited to join you.
Yeah, I like your fancy studio there.
Thank you. I like it too. Just been working on it lately. Tony Rotundo is our sponsor, and he's been instrumental in helping me get set up and everything.
Yeah, someone told me that he does like pictures and stuff.
Yeah, he's a #1 photographer, wrestling photographer there is.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's really cool. And it's nice to get a sponsor. I'm hoping one day that happens for me. So
Tony's turned into more of a friend and a mentor than he is a sponsor right now. He's an incredible human being. Super grateful to have met him, and we would not be anywhere near where we would be right now or where we are right now without him.
Yeah, it's got to help because I know I don't do like the blogging and stuff yet because I have enough to do. But it's got to help when you have someone like that sending some dope pictures to be able to.
It really is, yeah. That's something I never thought about when we started the podcast, but having the pictures for free and these pictures back here all his, it's really, really cool.
Nice. And I mean, he's got to be able to find you some good people to come on too. I mean, he's probably, look who he's photoed.
Yeah. So Jordan Burroughs, our biggest guest, was all him. He set me up with that one. That was fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've been blessed to talk to some pretty cool people but it was never my intention, right? My intention was just to talk to the wrestling community, and it's turned out where a lot of different people are coming on. So it's been definitely a blessing. But I love what you guys are doing, man. You keep doing it. Keep doing your thing. I know you guys are in school and young, so you still got your education, your career, your wrestling. But man, keep having the fun you're having and putting out the content. It's great stuff. I know today. Yeah. If anybody doesn't know, they just posted up a great interview with Sammy Sasso of Ohio State. So go to their page, Home Mat Advantage on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Rockfin. They're on all those platforms. So great content coming. And we talked before the show. There's more better. That's my English today. There's more better content coming. So we're good. But anyway, man, obviously with the whole COVID, man, have you been stuck at home for the most part, or have you been able to get out and roll around?
So I've gotten out a good bit this summer, traveling to camps and tournaments and stuff. But originally, yeah, we were pretty much stuck to our house. I'm homeschooled, and so is Jude, and so the COVID and everything really, other than wrestling, wasn't much of a big change for us. And living in Memphis, the wrestling isn't too big of a deal. So our wrestling is mainly done from home. Our training, me and my little brother wrestle a lot at home. So just having time to myself, having no school, having everybody being at home, I actually would say my training was improved, and I had better training during the quarantine.
Oh wow, well, good for you. I had a guy on yesterday, Coach Boskin, who's
yes, Coach Boskin,
Cleveland, Tennessee. He seems to be doing really good things in Tennessee with wrestling.
He's doing great things. Coach Boskin's one of my favorite coaches. I actually got to go over there this June, and yeah, he's an incredible coach, one of the best in the country for sure.
Yeah, he says he's got like a really cool barn set up for the kids. And
does, yeah.
Bunk beds, and I like how he says, "Man, you're with me for 3 days, so if you don't get it, I'm not letting you go to sleep. We're gonna keep doing it and doing it and doing it till you get it."
Yeah,
big for him.
He's got an incredible philosophies and procedures for getting better. And I love going to his place. And this summer is really cool that he got that barn set up. And yeah, he runs some incredible camps and has some great technique.
Yeah, he was awesome to talk to yesterday, man. It was really cool. So anyway, I guess we can just sit here and talk for hours, right? And we'll just let
We
people
really
listen to
could,
us.
yeah.
I know people want to hear the story of HMA and how it started. Obviously, you're sitting there. I mean, I've heard a little bit about it. You'd always harass the guys on the radio show and hit them up and not harass in a bad way, but just kind of always be asking questions and stuff. And then you're at the scuffle. You don't expect it. They find out you're there, and next thing you know, your life changes. But go ahead and talk about it, man.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool story.
So I guess we'll just start at the beginning. And that would be me being an absolute wrestling fanatic. And when I was little, I absolutely loved wrestling when I started at 6 years old. And from then on, from the first day I stepped foot on the mat, I had a passion for it and I knew it. And um as I got older, the passion grew. Um, and I started to, even when I didn't have practice, I would want to be involved in wrestling. And so I'd grab my little brother and I'd go wrestle with him. But when he wasn't wanting to wrestle me, I'd be like, I wonder what I can do now. So I'd get online and on my mom's phone or something and look at flow wrestling and look at the best wrestlers on YouTube and all that. And as I started to get more involved with that, I started to build knowledge of who the top wrestlers were, their stats, and how their styles, what their styles look like, stuff like that. And so really, without me knowing it, I started to build this big knowledge base of the sport of wrestling. And this was I was around 10 years old when it really all started to get bigger and bigger. And so I was on flow constantly all day long. When I wasn't, I would finish school as fast as I can. Like I said, I'm homeschooled. So I'd finish school as fast as I can, try to wrestle with my little brother and get on flow wrestling. And I'd
You're
watch
like,
my opponents.
you're like
I'd watch Jordan Burroughs.
I'm gonna pin my little brother in 8 seconds so I can get on.
Well, so I love wrestling first and foremost. So as long as my little brother would wrestle with me, I'd wrestle with him. And then flow would be kind of the second option. Um, So it really benefited my wrestler. I've turned into my style in wrestling is very technical. Um, and so watching all the film and watching all the matches and interviews and all that has really improved my wrestling, but also it gave me this understanding of the sport that most other kids don't have. And so as I started to get on Flow, I couldn't help but notice Flow Wrestling Radio Live. It went up every Tuesday and Thursday. And so when I watched everything, read all the articles on the site. That was the next thing to do. And I started watching it around 11 years old, maybe 12. And and they kept talking about questions at the end of the show. And I was like, questions? You get to send in questions? So I was 11 at the time. I barely knew what social media was. I didn't really get it. But I figured out that they were sending in questions from Twitter. So I knew my mom had a Twitter account. I didn't have a phone, so I would take my mom's phone and ask questions every like the night before the show. And I had sent in all the questions that I had, and that was like my output for my wrestling knowledge. That's where I gave my discussions. That's where I had it. Right now it's the podcast. So I really don't send in questions, and I listen to FRL, but not nearly as much as I did. Um, but that was my output for my wrestling knowledge on the higher level. And so I would send in my questions, and they would answer them. And it would be from Shannon Herring, and there's the question. So um, I would follow all the wrestling accounts. My mom, like 1,000 wrestling people, and my mom's Twitter feed was all jacked up, and she was not happy. So she told me to create my own account, and so that's where it launched off. I'd ask questions from my own account, and there was one question that seemed to make them know who I am, and it's a really funny episode. I should probably post it on social media again sometime, but it's really hilarious. So the question was if they would add, if they have ever considered adding middle school to Who's Number One, which is one of their biggest events. They bring in high school wrestlers, and it's like the top guys, and they battle for the number one spot in the country. So I was asking if they would consider adding middle school to Who's Number One, and I asked it week after week, but they would never ask it on the show. And so they have 2 shows a week. I asked it for probably about 3 or 4 weeks straight. So like 6 to 8 times I asked this question without an answer. And I wasn't like mad at him. I just wanted to have the question answered. When I asked questions, it was because these are discussions I wanted to
So you just
hear him.
continued to send it.
I just kept asking it, and there was no anger involved. I just wanted to hear him talk about it. So I thought if I kept asking it, maybe they'd answer it someday. So one day they decided to answer it, and Christian Piles is like the lead guy in Flow Wrestling Radio Live, and he asks it, and he goes, "I really just want to answer this question because this guy keeps asking it. So maybe he'll stop asking it once we read it out loud." And so they read it, and then they're like, "I wonder why this guy wants who's number one in middle school. Maybe he's because they didn't realize I was a kid at the time. So there are no kids asking questions. I was like the only one
And
at the
there's
time.
nobody asking about middle school to them.
Right.
So
And so what they thought was I was a coach and I had a really good middle schooler. And so they kept suggesting, I was like, I wonder, you guys look up who Sam Herring is, see where he's coaching or something like that. So they kind of did some research and figured out. So my Twitter handle is Samwise 2006, right? So they saw that and they were like, wait a second, this is a kid. And so their first thought was that they thought I wanted to wrestle on Who's Number One, but the reality is I just wanted to see like the top level middle school kids wrestle because I'm really possibly you could consider me as the top in the country right now, but at the time I was not there, and so I really wouldn't have a chance to wrestle in that, but I just wanted to see the top level guys wrestle. And so they thought it was the funniest thing that they had not realized I was a kid and they thought I was an adult. And so then they kind of knew who I was from there. So when I asked my questions, they're like, our guy, the kid. And so they got to know me a little bit. I'd talk to him sometimes, but it really wasn't much. And they asked me this kind of lined up with the scuffle. They knew I was from Tennessee. So they asked if I was going to be at the Southern Scuffle, which was in Chattanooga. It's about 5 hours away from me. But that weekend, Southern Scuffle's weird. It's like a Tuesday, Wednesday tournament. And it lines up with the beginning of the year. So New Year's. It's a really, really fun tournament, but I'd never been to a college tournament, big high school meet, anything. I'd just been in my own competitions. And so they asked me, Sam, are you going to the Southern Scuffle? Because I would see him there. And I was like, Mama, can we go? And I begged my parents, and it actually worked out really well because I was competing in, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's Dixie Nationals in Atlanta. I was
yes.
competing in that the weekend before.
The
And
only reason
so,
the only reason I heard about it is because we had a heavyweight
mhm.
and he went up there and they messed with him for like 2 years because he showed up and he won the one weight class because there was nobody in it. And then he wrestled 2 out of 3 in the next weight class and he won both matches. So he came back with two like whatever, like top Dixie national winners in 2 weight classes.
That's
So
funny for 2 matches.
we always busted his chops for like 2 years. Hey, that's the Dixie champ, 2-time Dixie weight class. We always
That's
met.
hilarious.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
you're fine. You're
It's a
fine.
great story.
But so it ended up working out really well. So we were in Atlanta, which is like 2 hours away from Chattanooga. So we wrestled in Atlanta, spent some time with my grandmother who was in Georgia, and then we drove up to Chattanooga for the scuffle. And I was like, I say a kid in the candy store, but I was a kid in the Southern Scuffle, and I was starstruck. It was incredible. I'd never seen this many top level wrestlers. Like I'm looking around, and these guys, I know every single one of them. I can read off their stats. Like I knew a lot about the guys there, and and Christian had told me like, hey, if you're coming, we might grab an interview with you, ask you like your thoughts on the tournament or something. So I was stoked about that. I was like, wow, Flow Wrestling's gonna interview me. How cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd be
but
that way now.
but I was like mind blown that they would take time to ask me who I thought was gonna win a weight class or something like that. And so I walked down there and introduced myself to him, and I talked to Christian for about 20, 30 minutes when I first got down there. And and guys would just be walking up to Christian to talk to him. It'd be like Tony Ramos just walks up the stairs and says, "Hey," and like, "Hey, Sam, how's it going?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" Tony Ramos knows who I am, and it was wild. And as I talked to Christian, I guess he kind of realized how much wrestling knowledge I did have, and then he posted a picture on Twitter with me and him and said we finally got to meet him. Um, and all the comments were like, "Let him commentate, let him commentate, put him on a mat and commentate." So, um, I left. We went upstairs, and the tournament was kind of over for the day. And I went back to we were staying at a friend's house there, and so I went back and I checked Twitter, and my phone was completely blown up, like 100 followers in an hour or so, and everybody's telling me I need to commentate. And Christian was like, "Hey, maybe we do." So I had a practice the next morning, so I was going to be late to make it there. So I had a practice at one of the prep schools in Tennessee in Chattanooga. So I wrestled there in the morning, and we drove over to Chattanooga at the scuffle. And once I get out of the practice, I pull out my phone and I look at it, and it's like Christian texted me like, "Hey, are you coming today? And do you want to commentate?" And I was like, yeah, I'll be over there as quick as I can. And yes, I do. So he sat me down on one of the consolation mats and put a headset on me, and I just started commentating. I just had my phone in my hand, and I was looking at the mat, just sitting down on the floor next to it, and I just started commentating. Like I think it was about 5 or 6 matches, um, and I checked my phone when I got back. 200 followers, and everybody's blowing up like, "Who is this kid commentating on mat 4?" Like,
That's
and I
awesome.
couldn't believe it. And everybody loved it, and they were like, "We need more, have him commentate more." So I commentated a few more consolation rounds, and then Christian came up and asked if I wanted to commentate the flow zone for the semifinals. So I got to commentate the semifinals of the scuffle that year. And it was like the live stream, and it was so much fun. I had the time of my life, and by the end of the weekend I had 1,500 Twitter followers, and I had like 62 when I got there.
Yeah,
Um,
Jude said, man, his phone just lit up.
yeah, it did. And so Jude and I had actually been talking for a while, um, up to this, and he texted me that night, was like, Sam, I didn't realize you were number one that good with like wrestling knowledge, and then number two, like, you better turn off your notifications because your followers are going nuts." And it was funny. It was like, "Remember me when you get famous," or something. It was really funny. And so we kept talking, and we threw around the idea of starting our own podcast. And it was more of a joke, like, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if like two kids started a podcast?" and we were merely pretty much just joking with it. And I Jude and I both listened to a bunch of podcasts. And at the end of one of the podcasts I was listening to, about like, it was a mentality one from a author of a book I read. That's how out of, like, wild, out of the range that this podcast was started from. But I was listening to a podcast that an author of a book I read had. And at the end of it, it had like a little anchor ad. And it was like, "Make your podcast for free, really easy. You don't really have to do anything." And I was like, okay, let me look up this anchor thing, right? So I look it up, and I'm like, um, "Jude, maybe we could do this." Because at first we were joking with the idea, and we thought we could never do it because we thought it'd cost money and that it'd be too hard for us to figure out how to do it. But we figured out how easy it was to do, and we were like, "Hey, we might should start this." And
How bad
I
was
know,
that? How bad was that first one?
yeah, it wasn't great. It was pretty bad. I know Jude talked about it a lot when he came on, but it was not a good episode. We ended up deleting it, not because it was bad, but just because the point of the episode was like for an introduction episode, and we talked about like our plans for the podcast, and it was totally different than what we ended up doing. We like talked about things that we thought we were going to talk about that was not at all what we ended up doing. So we just decided to delete it. It had no purpose. So you can't find that anywhere. But it was pretty bad. We didn't know we were talking over each other, and it was like 7 minutes long. It was pretty bad. Um, but our first real episode was recapping the NCAAs, and Jude and I were arguing a lot about he wanted it to be, I know he talked about it when he came on, but he wanted it to be like 15, 20 minutes long. And we wanted to recap the NCAA tournament. And I don't know if you've ever followed an NCAA tournament, but if you and I watched the NCAA tournament, we decided to have a recap show. If we wanted, we could talk for 4.5 hours about the NCAA tournament. It has so many crazy matches. The NCAA tournament's wild. Jude says, "All right, Sam, you got 15 minutes." And I look at him like, "What in the world are you thinking?" Um, and so he actually ended up cutting me off before heavyweight. So heavyweights got Anthony Cassar got cheated. But it was really weird. We worked through that, and we had yeah, that's the story of how HMA got started.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty,
Wow.
it's pretty awesome, the whole story. And I've gotten, I've gotten pieces from you and pieces from him, and it kind of creates the whole thing. And it's pretty awesome. Bud Hennenball's on here, saying really, really good things about you. And one thing he said was Sam's a rock star, and what is good about the future of wrestling. Bud sent you Keith Davis, shouted you out.
I love Keith Davis. He's
And,
awesome.
and Bud, it's pretty cool. I've never been to an NCAA tournament, so Bud has been an amazing supporter. I can't say enough of. I mean, he's been reached out to me from like almost day one, and just has really supported me through the whole process. And
That's really cool.
he told me, "You need to come to the scuffle. I got you. Come to the scuffle. I got you."
You got to
So,
come to the scuffle. It's so much fun.
maybe you and I both will be sitting there on press row together, and we'll do
Oh
some
yeah,
stuff together. And
that'd
I
be
have
awesome.
no idea. So I'll be like, and he's jumping off the top rope, and you'll be like, dude, that's a high crotch. This is not the WWF, right?
That'd be funny.
That was fun.
But no, I went back to the scuffle this year again, and I already had a podcast. I felt a lot more comfortable. I'd been to a couple D1 events and covered them for HMA. Since then, I felt a lot more comfortable when I got there, and I knew coaches there, and I knew the athletes, and they knew me. It was really cool. It was a totally different experience. And when I got there, I knew I was going to be commentating, and basically, I was just running around for flow, getting all the matches I could all day long. And props to those guys, because let me tell you, trying to find like the best matches to commentate and literally running between mats, calling matches, and everywhere, like one match enough is pretty stressful. You got a bunch of people listening to you. But then when you're doing it all day long and running back and forth and looking on your phone, tracking like what the next match is and where you need to be at what mat all day long from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., that's exhausting. And those guys do it at every tournament. That's their job. So props to those guys. But I had a lot of fun this year because I knew I was doing it. I felt comfortable, but my followers skyrocketed once again, and I think they went up another 1,000, which is really cool, or so 1,000 or so. But had a
Did you
lot of
just
fun.
do it? Did you do it through HMA, or you did it for them again?
No, I did it for Flow again. So I went there and I had a media credential for HMA, but when I got there, I was basically Flow's servant almost. Like whatever y'all want me to do, I'm there and I'm doing it, and I'm gonna do it as well as I can.
Oh, man,
So
you'll have to teach me how to
I had a
get
lot of
those
fun.
media credentials at these tournaments, because
I will.
one of the things I want to do when we're down in Florida, so the cases are a little higher up than the rest of the country. So my wife's
Hmm.
a little more strict down here for us. But one of the one of my goals is when I get out of the house and I get to go back to clubs and tournaments and stuff, and I just think it'll be, obviously you don't need media credentials for just the local high school stuff. That's fun,
Hmm.
right? But for the bigger stuff, I want to get out there and just, I don't know. You kind of see my show, right? I'm not really professional. I got no inhibitions. I just kind of go with it. Sometimes I curse. Most of the time I curse. Okay, all the time I curse. But but it's way cool. But I want to bring that kind of personality um, outside of here too. Just kind of
Yeah.
being a fool, talking to these guys when they get off the mat. Um, trying to think up questions that are a little off. Not the same. Well, how did you feel about your high crotch today, Johnny? Well, it was a
Hmm.
good one. I ducked under before I grabbed his elbow, and then I came around. Like, I don't want to ask him different stuff, right? So
Right.
it
Yeah.
would be fun, but Man, Bud said we can have you guys sit together if we have the scuffle this year. So
That'd be
uh,
fantastic. I'm excited.
that'll
I
be
really, really
fun.
hope we do.
Yeah, and thank you for you and Jude and Jacob for all the support you've shown me over my time that I've been doing this. And man, I really appreciate it. It's super cool to just to get support from people doing what you're doing and not
Mm-hmm.
trying to compete. Like I try and tell
Absolutely.
people, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to. I just want to be the best I can be and have a voice, but I don't want to be. We shouldn't be competing. We should all have the same goal. So
And
uh,
that's the cool thing about the position that Jude and I are in is um we're kids. This is not our living. We have a roof over our heads and food on our table, and this is just totally for fun for us. So we don't have any pressure to do it. We love talking to each other about wrestling, and we love talking to the high level wrestlers, and we've had a lot come from it. But at the end of the day, it's just two kids who love wrestling talking about it, and so there's really no pressure. We don't feel like we're trying to compete with everyone else, and so I think it makes it a lot easier for us to talk with you and come on your show and talk with a lot of the other podcasters in the world and learn from them and see if I can offer them any help too. Um, which it's normally the other way around, but I do like to talk with other guys.
yeah, and I mean, take advantage of it because, uh, you know, being a kid is an advantage. A lot of people like to hear from kids and see how smart the kid is, and oh my God, he's so cute. He's talking wrestling. Oh my God,
Yeah,
right?
we get that a lot.
They all love that. Daniel Shee, two favorite wrestling media personalities. You guys are awesome. And my brain is too clueless for you guys. Great stuff. Thanks, Daniel. Um, with that being said, I think you went through. We went through the story. We went through calling the scuffle. We went through friendship with Jude. You just talked about basically growing HMA and your goals and stuff. Kind of right now, the goal is just have fun, talk wrestling, and get to
Yeah.
college and be great, right?
And
It'll
it's
be kind of
growing a lot too, like with Jacob and Jack and Seth being like another arm for HMA, and we just launched Wrestle Like a Girl kind of umbrella of HMA wrestling, and it's growing really fast, and it's really really cool to see the support around it. And for a while we talked about another podcast that we were thinking about starting, but we had um a few problems, a few bumps along the road, but the growth has been insane, and yeah, it's wild.
yeah,
Really
that's
hard for
awesome.
me to
I don't know
comprehend.
if you I don't know if you saw how I started Women on the Mat.
Mhm. I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if I sent a message to Wrestle Like a Girl to their affiliate program, so we'll see if they hit
Mhm.
me up. But yeah, I did try to, and it's not really a separate. I separated it as far as my background, the logo. Did you know about the ladies? Because I think we need to shout them out, and I just wanted it to be where you can go to see these high level women that are kicking ass, right? Um,
Right.
so I just wanted to make it a little different there. It's the same
Yeah.
World Wrestling Live.
Mhm.
It's just a different segment. You know what I mean?
That's kind of
So
what a little bit what we've done. So, basically what we're doing is we partnered with Wrestle Like a Girl, and if you picture it, I guess it's Home Mat Advantage is the overarching organization. It's like the brand. But under it we have the HMA podcast, which is just Jude and I or Mason Beckman talking about wrestling. The HMA interviews, that's just solely like the people that we bring on for interviews. We have HMA fantasy, which stay tuned, we might have a little bit of a name change for that, but that's right now. And then we partnered with Wrestle Like a Girl to get some content and some attention to women's wrestling.
nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, listen. I've been reaching out to them. I reached out to them too. I think we should all be helping Wrestle Like a Girl. So I think that's great.
Absolutely.
Keep doing your thing, and uh, whatever I can do with you, I'd be happy to do it. But I talk about so we talked about your show, we talked about your friendship, we talked about all that. Um, but man, let's get real. You're one of the best wrestlers in the country, and talk about your career and I mean, 6-time Tennessee champ. You've already been an All American twice at Tulsa, and you're in what grade? At 30,
Rising seventh grade.
you're rising seventh grade, and you've already done that. So, pretty damn good. What you know? What makes you so great? When did you start out? Uh, who have your parents put you around to make sure that you can excel?
Well, first of all, there's still a lot of room to grow. Still not anywhere close to where I want to be, but yeah. So I started, like I said, when I was six years old. My dad wrestled for the Air Force Academy in college, and I am the fifth or sixth child out of seven kids um, in my family. So very very big family, but I'm one of the youngest. So we didn't start wrestling until we moved. My family used to live in Jacksonville area, um, and my dad is a pilot for FedEx. So we ended up moving to Memphis where he could work with FedEx, and so my older brother, me, and my little brother all started wrestling when I was 6. My older brother was 11, and my little brother was 4. And we all started wrestling together at the local club, Wave Wrestling Club. And my dad saw it. He'd always wanted to get his kids involved in wrestling, but this was the first time when there was a really solid club around, and there was a good opportunity for us to do it. So we got started, and like I said, when I stepped foot on the mat and I had my first practice, I knew right away. I loved it. And I wasn't too mature. I mean, obviously I was 6, but I was mature enough to be like, okay, this is fantastic, and I want to spend the rest of my life doing this. And so I loved it immediately. My older brother, my little brother, obviously my little brother's 4, so he really didn't know what was going on. But my older brother really didn't have that same passion. But when we first started, I was wild. I couldn't get enough. And I think that's probably, like, you asked what makes me good at wrestling, and I'd say that's probably the biggest thing. I love it. I think I love wrestling more than anybody. There's still hurdles that I have to jump. That's not the only thing that's going to make you great. I still have to find the best partners, find the best coaches, and work my butt off. But that's an advantage that I have, and I don't think there's anybody that I'm competing against that loves this sport more than I do. And so because of that, I think it's cheap, and I'm cutting the sport um, down if I don't give it all I have. And so that advantage that I have is really helpful. So I'd say that's probably what makes me great,
Have
or at
you
least good.
have you and Jude rolled?
We have not. So I got up there a couple weeks ago for the first time ever to like go to his house. We covered Final X was the first time we ever met, but we really did. So he got there late because he had some stuff in State College, but I had been there for a couple days, just covering the event. And he got there for the last session. It was like the big session, and he got there to cover it. And it was 2 hours, and we were both working. We were working really hard, scrambling around the arena for interviews and writing up stuff and notes and stuff. So we really did not get to talk or hang out with each other. It was basically like, "Hey, Jude, good to see you, man. All right, let's get to work." Um, so we really didn't get to speak to each other, hang out. But then this time we went over to his house and spend some time. Our families got to spend some time with each other, and we hung out for that night. And we went to M2 practice, but my back was injured, and so I wasn't able to do wrestling. We didn't get to roll around. I really wish we did.
So that means if you had both families in that house, that means there was like 72 kids
Right, right. Well,
because
not my entire family
that's
was there. It's
seven and
just me
me.
and my little brother. But
'Cause
yeah, my older siblings are pretty spread out right now. But it was just
doesn't he have a huge family too?
he does. He has I th- just guessing, or at least I think I remember he has 6 kids in his family, and he's the oldest. So yeah, 13 combined between us. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy. We can spend an hour telling you about all the similarities we have, which is it's really weird that we just by chance met on Twitter, and there's so many similarities between us.
Yeah, he said that he goes, it was just, it was a blessing. I know you guys are both followers of Christ, really, 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 really
Hmm.
passionate about that. And he said it's just crazy. You know, God put us together, and it just, we're best friends for life now. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
And we've
man,
met each other, like really got to talk to each other and meet each other one time, and we're best friends. Like,
yeah, and I asked him about it because I said, "Didn't I see you guys together?" And he's like, "Yeah." And his face lit up. He was so happy that you guys finally got to hang out. So
it was fantastic. I'm so glad we got to do it, and I hope we get to do it more.
yeah, and he's a couple years older than you, right?
He is. I think he's 16 right now, and I'm 14.
Nice. Wow, you're 14 and only going into seventh grade.
Yeah, so I just turned 14, and I think the plan is to hold back this year.
Ah, I see what he's doing. This way, you'll be like 22 and you'll be wrestling as
As a
a.
freshman, yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool. That's cool, man. So Randy Waddle, ask Sam about the virtual Bible studies he has organized and leads for a bunch of adult wrestlers.
Randy, Mr. Waddle is my dad's I think fraternity brother in college, and he coaches in Florida. Um, but the Bible app is something I've been using a lot. And it's really cool. I've actually done some Bible studies with coaches and athletes around the country, wrestlers. The UPenn coaching staff has been like the RTC and everything. I've done a lot with, and some coaches at UVA. But yeah, it's really cool that I get to be. I guess I get to see their wisdom and I get to hear their wisdom, specifically about their faith. It's really really cool, and I learn a lot from those guys. And um, the technology that we have today is is crazy. That I get to have my best friend I've met one time in my life, for like a couple hours. That's wild, or I guess two times. But that's wild. And then I get to do Bible studies like over an app with some of the best athletes in the country or in the world. And I get to hear their wisdom and I get to be exposed to that. Um, I'm just so grateful for all that we have today.
And that's awesome. So, um, for people out there listening that would like to jump on your Bible studies, how do they do that?
Find me on the Bible app. Just I'm Sam Herring, and I do Bible studies all the time, with people. We're reading through Matthew right now, and I try to organize them and balance, um, to go with the time. Find good Bible plans to go with, and we have great discussions. So just find me on the Bible app U version.
Nice, yeah. And I found his favorite proverb there. We threw it up. Really cool. It may be my new favorite one now that I read it. But
Yeah, I love that
the
verse.
horse is made for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. Proverbs 21:32. Pretty powerful there.
So
Awesome.
so so not to be a stickler, but it's Proverbs 21:31 for anyone who wants to look it up.
Uh,
Um, it's very close, very close. 32 is a good verse as well, but
I didn't have
um,
my glasses on when I copied it for you. I
that's all good.
found it on your I think it's on your
Was it a track profile?
yes. Let's see.
Yeah.
I am
Um,
supposed to wear my glasses. My wife tells me that, but I always forget. Well, I look at you with one eye.
that's funny.
Oh, it does say
Um,
21:31. Sorry, everybody. Well, if you look up 21:32, you'll find it. It's right next to it.
yeah, it's right next to it. And 32 is a great verse as well. I
All right.
joke about it. So my favorite Bible verse right now is in Psalms. I'm not totally sure what it is, but it's the verse that says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." Um, and it's my favorite verse right now because my family actually had COVID in March, at the beginning of March, before anything had really happened. We didn't really know what it was. But since then, I still don't have my smell back. So I always laugh at that verse because it doesn't say smell. It says taste and see that the Lord is good. So I'm still good. I'm still all good because I can taste and I can see that the Lord is good. Maybe not be able to smell, but I believe He is. So that's the kind of like my joke favorite Bible verse right now.
Nice. Well, my bad on the 2132. It's my eyesight, but
No, it's all good. It's all good.
so good. I'm glad you corrected me. So, all right, are you ready for the 10 questions? I mean, or
Yes, I am.
we can just keep talking till like dinner time if you want. I
Yeah, we can do that.
don't. All right,
I'm ready for whatever you got.
all right. Barbecue nachos or barbecue spaghetti?
That's really good. Barbecue nachos.
All
Stick to
right.
normal spaghetti.
Stieber or Dake?
Stieber. I love his top game. I love his top game.
All right. You go chopped pork or pulled pork?
Pulled pork.
Man, you live in the best barbecue place in the country, right?
Yes, I do. In the world. In the world.
All right. I think you probably heard us talk about this on your fantasy show. Gross or Lee?
Who would win in a match?
Yes.
Boy, you're putting me in a tough spot there. And no comment.
Okay, perfect.
No comment.
You can say push. Fried chicken or spicy chicken?
Oh, spicy fried chicken.
All right. Pat Smith or Jordan Burroughs?
Who's a better wrestler?
If they were to go head to head.
Jordan Burroughs. I'm sorry, wrestling's evolved too much, and especially if it were in freestyle. Pat didn't have much success outside of college.
All right. Glazed donut or maple bacon donut?
Glazed. Ugh.
They said maple bacon donut's famous in Memphis.
They are, but I'm
Not
not.
for you.
I'm not too big into that. Let's keep it normal.
All right. Yanni versus Zane.
Yanni. I'm a big Yanni fan.
Let's go baby backs or brisket.
Baby backs for sure,
Love them.
without a doubt.
Sanderson or nickel.
Kale would win that one. I don't think it'd be very pretty either.
As much of a beast as nickel is.
I think Kale still wins those battles in the room.
Yeah, he's just from another planet, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first time up at M2?
Second time. I've been up there a couple years ago for like right before David wrestled in Final X for the first time. I was up there like that week.
Did you were you in the room with Jude and you didn't know him yet?
Probably.
That's pretty cool, right?
I don't think we've like looked at the dates to see if we were both there, but the chances are high that we were both in that room.
Yeah, I was talking to him a little bit. So my son turns 15 next month,
Mm-hmm.
and he's very young for his grade. He's starting 10th grade. So, but he wrestled 138 this year. Since we've been stuck home all summer, he's been working out. So he's probably walking around at like 157, 158 right now. But he'll probably lean out to mid 140s, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
where
right
he
around
comes
Jude's
from.
area.
Yeah, and I told Jude, man, it'd be really dope to once we get some sort of normalcy back to have him come up there and let him kind of learn from Jude. I mean, Jude's a beast, right?
He's a beast.
Yeah, so
I'd whip him though.
Yeah, I think he would admit that.
No, all jokes aside, he'd probably kill me in a match.
Yeah, fourth in Tennessee, and I mean fourth in PA at his age is, I mean that's the mecca of wrestling, right?
Yeah, right. Oh yeah. I mean, no diss to Tennessee, but if I lived in Pennsylvania, I'm pretty dang sure I would not have the same stats.
Yeah. Hey, well, now you got someone you can go hang out with.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Hey man, I could sit and talk to you. I was telling Jude the same thing, man. I could just talk to you guys forever because I learned so much talking to you guys. Young men, but you guys are so smart. And it I watch my son all the time. He's always watching Flow, and he's always breaking down matches, and he's always kind of doing that stuff. And he's become a nerd of the sport. And I think like a lot of people say, man, watch that tape. It's almost as important as drilling and being on the mat, just to
look. I was talking to Maya Nelson today, and we talked to, so she's been injured a lot throughout her career, and we got to talk a lot about what she does in rehab. And she said film has been one of the biggest things that she's learned how to watch and learned how to break down because of all her injuries. And it's what's made me the wrestler that I am today. Like I said, I'm a very technical wrestler, and that all comes from all the film that I watch.
And do you think that do you think you'll always incorporate this into your life now?
As like the media.
Yeah.
So Jude and I have talked about this a lot. We don't really want to face it because it's really weird, but he's going to be going off to college in a couple years, and HMA is definitely going to dwindle. When he's in college, I'm going to be managing it. I'm going to let him do what he wants to do. If he ever wants to come back and be a part of it, he's totally welcome to. But I'm pretty sure he's going to focus all of his time on reaching his goals as a wrestler, and the same time is going to come from me. But the cool thing is we're setting it up with Jacob and Mason Beckman and Jack and Seth and everybody that's a part of HMA right now, that when we're in college and we're chasing Olympic dreams and stuff, it's still going to be able to run. It's going to be able to run on its own. And that's kind of what we're trying to set it up for. And so when we finish wrestling, we can come back to it if we want. We can leave it and go to our families and our jobs. But right now, we're trying to set it up that it can run when we're not here.
But also, how cool will it be to kind of follow that process with Jude and watch a kid go through the college process?
It's gonna be fantastic. So I'm learning a lot from him. He's calling me after every college coach calls him for recruiting and tells me everything. So all the guys that I talk to, I like to talk about that because I want to be ready for recruiting. I'm gonna be in a really weird spot because I already know the coaches pretty well. The coaches know me, I know them. We already have a relationship in 7th grade. And so when I get to that point where they're going to be calling me, recruiting me, it's going to be really weird. And the weirdest part is going to be those 2 years, freshman and sophomore year, where I'm not allowed to talk to them. That's going to be the worst. I'm not excited for that.
Yeah. Oh, you can't even do your show?
I can't even do shows. So Jude, for these last couple of years, we've only been doing this podcast for about a year and a half. So Jude has not been able to talk to college coaches for that year and a half at all.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Something. Well, tomorrow I've got Afsoon Johnston coming on,
Hmm.
who is
I don't know
awesome.
him.
She's the first woman medalist.
Yeah, I don't know her.
She just had a book come out, and she'll be on tomorrow. So pretty awesome.
Very cool.
Check her out. I'll have to. I'll refer to you when we're done.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Man, thank you so much. Again, absolute honor to have both you guys on. Had him on, I think, last week or the week before, and then you this week. And man, just keep doing big things. I know you guys have with Jacob, you got the fantasy going on. He's starting the ACC thing. I told him if any of the ACC guys that I've had on, if he needs me to reach out to him for him, I'm happy to do so. I hit him.
Jacob is just a blessing for us. He is one of, if not the hardest working, most determined content creators I've ever seen. He works so hard, and I'm blown away by what he's able to do. I'm really, really grateful to have him be a part of our team.
Yeah, and he was the first person I thought of yesterday when I got to meet Mickey Filippi. I keep messing up his name, but the first thing I said to him was, "Hey, I got this guy, man. He's doing an ACC podcast. You got to get on his show." So
yeah, I really hope Jacob does well with that podcast. I think he's on to something.
Well, I think the support that we have for each other and referring each other people and helping each other out, I think that's how it grows. That's how the sport grows.
For sure.
You never know. Maybe World Wrestling Live comes under your umbrella one day, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic.
All right, man. Well,
that's how it started with Jacob. He had his own podcast. It was called Tech Fall Fantasy, and that's how it started. He has to be a part of HMA.
Yeah, well, I'm building up a good following, so I think.
Yes, you are. You're doing some great work. It's really
it'll be awesome. Yeah, man. Let's. I'll message you my cell, man, and we'll talk. And I'd love to be able to to do some things together. That'd be fun.
That sounds good.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your evening. God bless. Keep kicking life's ass. That's what I tell everybody. I can't seem to sell the shirt that says it on it, but I got one out there. If anybody wants one, buy it, please. It's a nice shirt. I've got the PG version in the store. It says kicking butt. So for all you kids out there that want one, I got
I
the
like
PG
that one.
version
I
too.
like that one.
All right, brother. You take it easy.
Yes, sir. You as well.